What's news, Artifam? This is Artifact News coming to you with episode number 25, Artifact 2024. Alright, but this is that time of year again where we take a step back and we look at the Artifact ecosystem in totality and we try to guess what are going to be the top 10 headlines of the year. And as you know, this is going to be a huge year for Artifact, right? This is kind of, it's not make it or break it, but this is definitely going to tell us all what level of success that we can expect from Artifact, right? Like with the release of Animus coming up here very shortly, and then just where are we going to be going in general with Clone X, right? Like, how important are the Clone X going to be to the ecosystem going forward? Is Animus going to kind of take the stage, or are they going to share the stage, or are the Clone X going to kind of lead the way, and Animus is going to be kind of a really nice complement to that? And how are they both going to like fit in together, and where, and in what type of functionality? So basically, we're going to get into that in more detail in the top 10 segment here coming up. And just in case you're new to the channel, what I typically do here is about 10 to 20 minutes. In this case, probably going to be more like 20-25 minutes on this episode. And but you know, I have all the chapters there, so if you want to just skip forward to the segments, like, feel free to do that. That it could make it a little easier for you. And yeah, you know, if you're new, please like and subscribe. I'm still looking to get to that 500 mark. It would be great to get to 1,000. So, you know, tell a friend if you can. Let's try to grow the community a little bit here. And yeah, but other than that, this is going to be a huge year, right? There's already so much going on in crypto just in general. Like, all these new metas are emerging. You know, whether we're talking about RWAs or real world assets, you know, the tokenization of real world assets, from real estate to, automobiles, or any type of asset really that a person could have. Honestly, like, they're going to try to be tokenizing those. And you know, what kind of meta is that going to develop into? But like, also obviously the runes, basically inscriptions or DeFi and NFTs on the Bitcoin network, which is crazy, right? Because I think for a lot of us, you know, the narrative has always been that Bitcoin is just digital gold. Like, just don't do anything with it and it'll be serving its number one purpose. But now we're seeing that is absolutely not the case, and it is completely growing into all these different ways at this point. Which, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. It's like, you know, definitely going to help out with the fees going forward for miners and everything, and definitely going to provide a lot of interesting aspects for all of us out here that are interested in blockchain in general. But you know, then you got the halving, and how's that going to shake out? You know, like, we've never seen an all-time high like prior to the halving like we have this year. What is that going to mean? Is that going to be a good thing? Is that going to be a bad thing? Who knows? I mean, you know, then we have developments in AI that are just moving at breakneck speed out here, and it's just like, where is that going to go? How are the AI agents going to affect all of us, from not only our employment, but just how we can use AI agents on our own to like increase our personal productivity. So there are definitely a lot of innovations happening out here, but I got to say, one thing I'm pretty surprised to see is that the battle of the internet still wages on. There are still a lot of people out here that are having a hard time grasping the benefits of the internet and the capabilities, and they're still like resisting the internet and trying to suppress it. And we have seen this for so long, you know, like even back in the day with email. I remember there were so many people that I had to try to convince that email was a better thing than snail mail. But there were a lot of people that were, just saying that, hey, email is just for spammers and scammers, right? Like, my inbox is just filled with scammers. This thing is never going to be good for anything. Like, I like the personal touch of writing the letter, licking the stamp and sending it off. You know, like, they thought like they were basically thinking everybody was going to be transhumanist, and like they were like getting rid of humanity and everything and the personal touch. And how could they possibly do that, right? Like, same thing happened in the year 2000. Like, remember, like with the internet and people just rejecting this whole idea of websites. And they were just like, oh, that's just a passing fad. Like, nobody cares. Like, everybody wants to drive to the store still. They would much rather shop that way. You know, I want to be able to hold the item in my hand to shop. And now if you look back on anybody saying any of that stuff, you would think they're crazy. You know, like everybody is on their phone. Like, if they're not social shopping with their friends, like they're just shopping on Amazon or shopping at all the OEM stores. And like, you know, and it's just like, the internet evolved in so many different ways since back in the day when people saying that, you know, it wasn't really that important. Like, we had Nobel Prize winners that are on record at saying that the internet isn't going to have more of an impact than the fax machine. Like, bananas, like bonkers thoughts. Like, people have been crazy about the internet, and we're still seeing it today. And, you know, even with Nike, like you can see in the headlines here that we got the CEO, John Donahue, who I believe used to head up eBay, which, you know, basically dematerialized all of the flea markets all over the world. So clearly it's better than the brick and mortar version of what, you know, like eBay was the next level of that. But like, we do have John Donahue out here saying that the lack of innovation that he's been seeing at Nike is he attributes to remote work. And I gotta tell you, like, I just don't understand. To me, that's just once again either a delay or a denial of the capability of the internet, because I don't even think it's not even a fair argument to compare remote work versus in the office work. Like, it's such a landslide victory in favor of remote. If you just sit there and do a cost benefit and you look at every single aspect of that and you give it the truth, it's not even close. And if you try to argue with anybody about it, like, you can't even get through the first 3 arguments before the person who is in favor of the work is just like, I don't know, man. I just think it's a better idea. And like, they can't even deal with the real arguments. I think it's hilarious. But this is just for all my people out there trying to work remotely. Please, just ask your manager this. You can see me remotely. And you can hear me remotely. Which of the other 3 senses are you planning on using when I come into the office? Because I might need to stop by HR for a moment. Right? Like, and they won't even be able to answer it, to be honest. Like, they don't really know why they want you in the office. Other than some companies are literally getting paid by their state governments or federal governments to bring people back to the office, because they want you stopping at gas stations or, like, you know, like burning tires and burning gas and oil. And, you know, it's for every other reason other than like what they're supposed to be doing, which is enhancing shareholder value, right? Like, that's the number one thing that decision makers at the top of the organizations are tasked with doing. And working in the office is clearly not one of those things. If you look at it on paper, it's not even close. I mean, if you just for a moment here, if you look at the productivity part of it, like if you want to like have a meeting with somebody, or if somebody's training you, I mean, you can record the screen, right? They can see your screen. You can record the meeting, play it back rather than taking notes. You can collaborate together digitally. You can host in real time polls. Like, there's everything you would imagine you can do digitally. Like, you can do that remotely, and you can't do that when somebody's sitting in your cubicle with you and, you know, after you guys just burned a bunch of time on the road together. It's bonkers. But anyway, like, for somebody to not understand remote work at this point, for me, it's really like somebody not understanding the benefits of email over snail mail. Like, we've already hashed that out. We've already, like, if there was any boss right now that was telling you not to send email and they were telling you to send real mail, you would think they're crazy, right? And they probably wouldn't be leading. And I think that'll happen in the future here too. We'll see the same thing, you know, like we saw it with Blockbuster Video, right? Like, we saw management that preferred brick and mortar before. And we saw Blockbuster Video basically gaslight themselves right out of position. You know, they were in like extreme position to dominate everything. They could have purchased Netflix for $50 million. But instead, somebody caught like some commercial real estate love or something, or like they fell in love with the idea of selling gummy bears to people when they came into the Blockbuster video, right? Like they got away from their core competency, which is like using whatever kind of technology you can to make the best product to provide the best value back to the shareholders. That's the ultimate deal, right? So, but that is kind of the theme that I'm seeing here in 2024 is this battle over Web 2 managers that are caught looking and like they don't understand necessarily how to make this leap from Web 2 to Web 3. You know, like if you haven't mastered Web 2, which Web 1 was static internet, right? Like our ability to read the internet and see the web pages and everything. And Web 2 was our ability to read and write on the internet, right? Like to enter information that a lot of people stole, Mark Zuckerberg included. But then, so reading and writing on the internet, right? That's Web 2. Now, Web 3 is digital property rights, right? Provable digital provenance, digital ownership. I mean, if your boss or your CEO or your manager like hasn't graduated beyond Web 2 at this point, like how are they going to see the value in your avatar wearing digital sneakers? You know? I don't know that they're going to get that just yet or understand why that's important. I got to tell you, you know, like if you work with a bunch of smart people, I guarantee go in your office, ask how many people understand digital property rights or whether it matters or why it matters. There's not going to be very many people in your office or whatever that understand that unless you work in some super futuristic field. But like there's a lot of Web 2 people that for some reason are being put in Web 3 management positions and they just don't really understand it. And they're kind of being appointed in those positions by Web 2 CEOs that also don't understand it, right? So they don't even know who to put in the position. So like I pull for Nike. Nike is bigger than any decision maker that will ever be there. It's an evergreen company that will always be around. And I pull for Nike, the organization, like the concept of Nike. And why do I really pull for Nike, right? Like I think it's the same reason almost all of us pull for Nike. And I'm not sure that Nike even knows this. So if you work there, please, just for a moment here, let's talk about why your company even matters at this point. And it's because of the deal that you made with Michael Jordan. That deal right there signaled to the people that Nike was a company of the people, right? Because this was like one of the first times that an organization or corporation of that size that power actually cut the artist in on the profitability of the product that they were affiliated with, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Error, but that was a really great movie, you know, like, and it was a really eye-opener thing for me too, just to see how important that deal was because, you know, like that deal wasn't brought to Michael from Nike, you know? No corporation's going to bring that deal. They all want the profit all to themselves, typically, and that's how the citizenry out here look at these organizations as just like, not token gated, but they're just like they're just very gate kept. They're not sharing profits if they don't have to at all. But when Nike did that, it showed everybody that they were willing to do that. That they were willing to take. Not a back seat by any means, but like to share in with the people in on the prosperity. And that right there is just a cultural shift. That will get the whole entire population to look at your company like, wow, okay, so let's back this company right here. That's when the community begins, right? Like that's when all the support begins. That's when all of these major the culture, the community, that's when just everything starts happening for Nike right there. And, you know, they may attribute it to Jordan's success as a player, or they may attribute it to the designs that came through from all the brilliant designers at Nike, you know, especially on the Jordan 1 and everything. They may attribute it to that, but I got to tell you, man, like this is just in my opinion, obviously I can't prove this, but I think it's because they showed everybody that they were willing to work with the people in a new way. And that honestly is like, for the Web 2 managers out there, like that was really the promise of Web 3. Digital ownership. For us to actually, like, the people to actually have some ownership here over their digital items. Whether it be in-game items like avatars or skins, or, you know, like any kind of items or anything like that, clothing, digital clothing, you know, but also just owning our own, like, our digital personas and all of our breadcrumbs that we're leaving all over the internet that people are just vacuuming up and selling. You know, like the idea of digital royalties, perpetual royalties that are programmatically distributed, so we don't need like the scuzzy lawyers or like the agents that have always been like working over artists. You know, this is like the first time we got programmatic royalties that takes all of that out of the deal, and now we can like figure out a way that a digital artist can like make money in perpetuity, which honestly incentivizes them to make the sickest digital art they've ever made, because now they're going to get paid off it you know, like their estate is always going to make money off of that. So there's no reason why they shouldn't make the best stuff possible. You know, hey, and there we go again. Like, that's another thing. Like, there's just a lot of people out there that don't understand like the royalty aspect. And for me, if you ask me, like, those people don't understand the internet either. You know, they're trying to just like perpetuate this old school methodology of like artists getting completely railroaded while everybody else makes money off their work other than the artist. They're trying to just perpetuate that. And that's what I see, is a lot of perpetuation, a lot of dogma. And I got to tell you, like, if you don't understand the internet, again, if you don't understand remote, like the value of remote work, if you don't understand digital property rights, like if you don't understand why programmatic royalties are good, man, the internet is undefeated and you're about to get knocked out again by the internet. I mean, it is like a juggernaut. And if you don't understand it, like, it's obviously like, it is just a denial of progression. And we always have those people. We've always had them, like the horse people, right? Like, as soon as automobiles were here, the horse people were like, hold on, buddy. I love Nessie. And Nessie's been good to me all these years. Like, we can't get rid of her. You know, and like, but there was a lot of people selling saddles that were just out there trying to like start up propaganda against automobiles. And there was like, you know, it goes back to like, even in the days with candles and stuff, I'm sure the person who first lit the first candle, people were like calling them a heretic because how dare they, you know, light the cave. Only God is supposed to light the cave with the sun. And you're a heretic for having a candle. And I guarantee when the light bulb came, the candle people called them heretics. That's just always how it is. People are trying to slow other people down, especially when they get a footing into an area. They don't want us to move on from that area because they're kind of dominating the area. And I think we see a lot of that too, personally, in the digital space that we're in right now with NFTs and with crypto and everything, is a lot of like calls for in real life parties, in real life merchandise. You know, like, it's like this hearkening, like we don't want to like move on to this next level where there's just a ton of digital, and there's digital property rights and there's digital ownership and stuff, and like, because it's kind of hard to figure out those new paradigms, and it's not easy to implement. It costs a lot of money to implement. People are impatient. They want you to make moves constantly. And so it's just easier to say, let me just go ahead and drop ship some hoodies first. We'll do a bunch of in real life party. It's like, hold on, man. This whole thing is about digital property rights and digital ownership. I mean, like when video games came along, okay, we didn't need communities. Like, games have not needed communities. They've moved 400 million units of Super Mario. There's not one community out there. Same thing, Legend of Zelda, Metroid. I mean, a God of War, Elden Ring. I mean, some of them have communities, but only after they delivered a stellar project. Like Star Citizen, I think there's some communities around that, but that's an unreal project. You know, there's probably some people that like dress up and go to, you know, Blizzard Con and stuff, I'm sure. Like, yeah, there's some community there, but it was only after like World of Warcraft and Heroes of the Storm and like, you know, StarCraft and all of that those communities formed. Like, I think there's a lot of corporatization and like the kind of corporate talk where people are like, you need a community, you need a culture. So that doesn't come first. That doesn't come first. You need something sick that people completely love and that is functionally like a really big part of their lives. And then like community kind of forms around that. But here, because people know it takes so long to make video games and stuff, and it takes so long to get to other things, they just say, hey, let's focus on building the community first. And it's like, I don't think that's how it works, man. I think, you know, just like with Nike, like you can't fake that. When they allowed Jordan to get a cut of the profits, that was enough of a signal right there. And then they delivered like the sick Jordan 1 and it looks amazing. So now there's just all these reasons to support Nike. You know, and that's when culture comes in. That's when the community's formed and stuff. Like you can't fake that. You can't try to go community and culture first. That's just like a corporate weird belief. That's like that synergy. Like we need people in the office to create synergy. Like that's that same vibe. Like you can't fake that. you can't fake it, man. So remote work is just, it's better than in the office. I don't know what to say. I got to tell you, man, you should not even be able to run a company at this point unless you have 1,000 hours in an MMO. You know, like if you don't know how to digitally collaborate with people, like you should have to play World of Warcraft, because I got to tell you, everybody in there, they're collaborating like crazy, doing highly complex stuff, and everybody's getting along because they really want the end reward to work out. And they all work perfectly together. Like you should have to know how to do that kind of stuff and see the true value in it. If not, you shouldn't be leading anything that has to do with Web3. I gotta tell you, I don't know. That's just my opinion, right? Like I'm not trying to get anybody fired. I am just saying, I believe in Nike. I believe in Artifact. And I think Artifact is so far in the future. I mean, if you look at the resumes of Zap, Benoit, and Chris Lee, and if you talk to them, dude, they're like 10 years ahead of just about everybody. You know? They were doing things that other people weren't, they're just hearing about now. But those dudes have been doing it for like 10 years. You know, like they're just way ahead of everybody. And a lot of Web 2 people aren't even going to understand them. And you know it. Like if you've ever tried to talk to anybody of your friends or anybody at your work who doesn't pay attention to crypto, you try to start talking to anything about crypto, man, their eyes will just glaze over. Like, you know, Artifact's just way ahead of the game, I think. And I really just hope that Nike, the organization that is evergreen, will install whoever it needs to that truly understands the internet. Because it was sad to watch Blockbuster Video go the way they did, you know, to like completely fight the internet the way they did. And I'm not saying I see that from Nike, but you know, hey, I'm just saying like, I got to give them credit. They purchased Artifact, so they clearly know a lot about the internet. But we just saw them pull back their marketplace, you know, and we saw them release soulbound tokens. Now we're seeing them talk about like being back in the office. It feels like a denial of the internet. It feels like we're kind of going that way. So, that's what I'm saying. The battle of the internet wages on. And for anybody who just doesn't get it or doesn't know, or just realize this, man, it's a freight train, you know? And when people were saying that the internet was a passing fad in 2000, there was a lot of smart people saying that. I mean, did they know that you'd just be using the internet to control the lights in your house in a few years? Or that you'd be using the internet to start your car while you're in bed still, or like, you know, turn on your shower. Like, did they know any of that was happening, man? Like, we don't even know what the internet is yet. Every year it unfolds like a new flap, a new whole situation. I mean, in 2009, it was the internet of money coming on the scene. Now we have internet of things. We have the internet of knowledge. I would be careful thinking that you understand the internet, or that it doesn't have a relentless amount of potential that you should probably be trying to capitalize on if you're a manager. So anyway, that's my rant for 2024, the battle of the internet. So we are going to get in here to the top 10 headlines that I think are coming down the pipe for Artifact. Now, keep in mind, man, I got a lot of them wrong for 2023, okay? This is all just guesses here. I'm not a financial advisor by any means necessary. I'm literally wearing a cartoon mask of a robot. So please do not take any financial advice from me by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just here as an Artifact fan, and I'm trying to talk to you because I know you're an Artifact fan too if you're here. Or maybe you're just trying to get a better understanding of where this is all going. And if you hung through that whole rant and everything, man, I give you some props because that was crazy. But I think it's about time that we jump into the actual video here. So if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe. Let's get to 500. That's the goal for 2024. 500 people, right? Let's do this. We can definitely do that, I think, right? Okay. All right, so let's dive in. Let's do this. All right, so let's start this year's list off with number 10, Move to Earn. Okay, so what is Move to Earn, right? This is a new platform for Artifact and Nike here where you're going to actually earn NFTs as you move. That's the whole concept, right? It's not going to be like a utility token or anything like that. Like there's not going to be any drip token involved. They've already confirmed that. So it is going to be NFT related. And we don't know, first of all, how serious they're going to take this. Like what level are they going to take this to? Is it going to be multiple pairs of shoes, or is this going to be primarily regulated to the crypto kick in real life? Let's take a look at the crypto kick in real life here. This is a video starring Zapgeo, one of the founders. There's a lace engine right there. That lace engine is in the soul of the crypto kick in real life. And that is what is going to measure the performance during Move to Earn. So there's the charging pad. The crypto kicks in real life shoes are just so sick, man. Especially those Space Matters are incredible. But yeah, this is the current model. Like, is this going to extend beyond the crypto kick in real life to other shoes? I mean, is this really the launch pad? I mean, I don't know. There could be a lot of, not pressure necessarily, but this could really dictate how serious Nike is going to be taking Move to Earn into the future. Right? Like, I mean, this was a cool video that was related to the crypto kick in real life, you know, and this is like a clone right here that's obviously just wearing the crypto kicks out here. And this was just a really great video as this clone kind of busts through the FUD barrier right here, lands on the magnetic levitation of the ice mags, and is just moving all around the city, right? It's just kind of cool little look at the clone moving to earn, but it's like, what is that going to mean for us in the physical world here, right? Because if we're going to be earning NFTs, what kind of NFTs are we going to be earning? You know, is this going to be something that's strictly related to Animus, or is this just like clone ecosystem all together? You know, because I could understand like if it's something with Animus, because the Animus have like these energy components to them, and maybe there's some tie in there where you're like, you know, you move to earn and you earn some energy points that you can apply towards your Animus to improve your Animus, something like that. Or, you know, what is it going to be? Maybe it's just going to be some like digital merchandise or some tie-in to some like something else on like physical merchandise where maybe there's some discounts or something. I have no idea. Don't quote me on that. I'm just saying Move to Earn. What does it ultimately mean, right? But it's good that Artifact is in that position to be doing this, because it does look like other companies such as Adidas is teaming up with SZN. You know, SZN kind of really stepped off with this whole Move to Earn concept, really, right? Where basically you would move and you would be earning the SZN token, and right, and like people were making some pretty good loot off of that early, and it was a huge deal. Like people were selling these sneakers for a lot of money and everything. This whole idea of like gamified wellness and everything was like kind of really kicking off. So it was looking like a cool concept. But now you got Adidas like taking it seriously and jumping in here to compete with Nike on Move to Earn. And so for this round right here, anyway, with SZN and Adidas, it's like a 1 year long partnership. There's gonna be 1,000 SZN X Adidas sneakers, and they're kind of following Nike and Artifact's path, where there's going to be a dual logo between Adidas and SZN, which is, I thought, pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, the competition is heating up, and where is it going to go? You know, like, how intense is Nike going to take this? I think they're all really hoping that it's going to be a big deal because, you know, the gamification of wellness could be great for everybody. You know, I mean, it could get many more people out there. Obviously, it's just like getting in shape and running and taking care of themselves, which is great for Nike because they're going to be selling more sneakers, kind of win-win that way. Now, one thing I was like really worried about here as a longtime gamer is I've seen how hard it is for corporations or any kind of developer to prevent hacking or prevent cheating of some sort. And you could take all of the best games too, you know, like they have the MIT studied developers in there and programmers and everything. Then they can't keep, it's hard to keep a huge population of people at bay because they all have different ideas and they all come from every single angle that, you know, a small group of people working on it can't really think of. So I think that's kind of what happened with Move to Earn. It seemed like it was going to be released last year, but then it was kind of brought back. And I think it seemed like they were trying to make sure that that was going to be more safe. You know, like it wasn't going to be something that could be gamified so easily. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I love these kinds of new developments. I love it when people take on a new challenge to try to say, okay, this is something that obviously people are going to try to hack, but we have this method and we think it's going to work. You know, I would like to see that because that could be a big progression for something much bigger than Move to Earn, which is the smart sneaker. You know, this sneaker that is using new technologies. You know, it's using the internet to communicate metrics that were once unseen. You know, like it's going to bring to light metrics for runners and professionals and even like just prosumers or just regular people who are running regularly. It's going to bring in to light new metrics that you might not have known that could help you really improve your performance, which will make you want to run more, which will be better for you and your physical fitness, but it would be better for Nike because there's some more shoes. It's a whole Hakuna Matata situation, but like the smart sneaker for sure. I mean, even AI, right? Like when AI gets in there, I mean, we're obviously not talking like 5 years into the future, but like way into the future where the sneaker is like literally it's making adjustments on the fly to your sole using artificial intelligence in real time, right? Like the smart sneaker is no joke. And this is like one of the first big entrances of technology into a sneaker, you know? So to see how it works is a big deal. I think there's a lot of people that are going to have eyeballs on this, and I'm excited to see how it's going to go. And I'm excited to jump in there with my CRLs and, you know, give it a go. So yeah, that's number 10. I think we're going to see it this year. That's Move to Earn. Let's move on. Number 9. All right, so now let's move on to number 9, creator tools, specifically inventory and the V2 models. But I'd say just like the creator tools in general, because you never know what kind of creator tools are going to come down the pipe from here, like for the rest of this year. There's always new tools coming out, sometimes by the community too, which is pretty interesting. So, but like if you're new to the ecosystem, or, you know, if you're just like a big fan of it, like, you know about one of the creators I would like to just highlight here to help you understand to the level that the artifact community takes the productions that they do with these creator tools. So I'm going to highlight, as I usually do, is Alice 80 here, or Ali. And you can find Ali has a YouTube channel. You can follow him there, but also you can follow him on Twitter or X at AALASADY_. Definitely a great follow. I mean, one of the best content creators possibly on X, if you ask me. So let's just take a look at something that Ali has done here. And I'm going to remove myself here. So yeah. Yeah, so like if that doesn't get you fired up, and that's just one of Ali's videos. He's got so many more that are even more in depth than that, but I'd love that one too. It's just kind of, it's got a little griminess to it, but it's also just gets me fired up for just the potential of what can be done with all of these 3D models and all of the assets that Artifact's creating, right? Like that's a really sick video right there. You could just imagine that that's looking like something that I would like to watch on the regular if that was a show or something. You know, I mean, I don't know. I've never seen how fast Ali works or like how impossible it would be for just a normal person if he's just like godlike or whatever. But if that's even remotely accessible for just like regular people, that brings so much life to this whole ecosystem because you can do things like that if you're part of the artifact community, right? And there's a lot of people, this whole creator community, that can help you out and help guide you so that you can put together productions like that. So I don't know. I mean, like that was just one thing I wanted to highlight. You know, there were some other things up here too. Like this is just kind of showing off some of the drift that's associated. You know, like getting these digital items and then being able to put them on the clones is just like next level, right? And they have systems that they're coming out with to try to like help make that easier. Way back in the day, we saw there was like an inventory system, and gosh, here's the old version of it. I gotta put it down. So yeah, this is like the old version of it, and I mean it's super sick. Like how I mean that inventory system right there looks better like than most of the AAA videos out there inventory. You know, like it's better than I don't know. I don't want to like compare it to all your favorite games, whatever. But like I played almost all of the latest AAA video games. This just looks more interesting. I don't know if it's because I can see Nikes and I can relate more with Nikes than I can with just some generic boot or something. But also, I just really love the movement in and out. The UI is like really interesting, and I don't know. I think it's just very cool in general. So, like there was an announcement here that they plan on recruiting some community members for research purposes to review like the project inventory app. You know, like this was quite a while ago here. But you got Jarlin Perez on it, just leading the effort, and members of the artifact engineering and 3D team. So they're just trying to come through with like new tools to help everybody have a better experience with all of the 3D assets on their paths to becoming creators, right? Like, I mean, check this out. Look how sick this is right here. Look at these dreads. These were all videos that were released on the Artifact X or Artifact Twitter. But like the movement in those dreads looks so cool. I mean, I haven't really seen that in like very many character creators. That looks borderline real, man. I don't know. It's really crazy. But in here, it's really weird on this program. I can't fast forward this video, but just go through Harlan's Twitter. If you're not following him, definitely follow him, and you'll see this video right here. This is a very long video, and it just goes through all the aspects to everything that he's creating with these 3D assets. This video is like your artifact items in one place. So unfortunately, it's not going to play because I think there's an intro here that I can't skip through. But definitely go check that video out. It's a super sick video. It's a very long video, and you're going to see a lot of cool things. Like you can see stuff like this in there. I mean, talking about like the V2 models going just from what this alpha version that they have, I mean, to an updated version that just has more capabilities, I don't know. I think it's just it's super sick that they're even putting the effort in to update the models. I mean, what other NFT community is even doing something like that, right? Like, not let alone like have amazing 3D models that were like designed in conjunction with one of the best fine artists in the world, Takashi Murakami. So it's like just releasing the alpha version of those was like big deal enough, and many clones have done amazing things with those. I mean, this mask that I have on right here is attributed to everything that they did with 3D models. So I'm benefiting from it, and so are many other creators in the ecosystem. But like then for them to like update that and spend extra time and effort from really advanced people that are making these things look way cooler and way more interactive, like look how cool that is. It's just really a beautiful thing, you know? I mean, this is like a quick change tool that we've seen. And just like that quickly being able to just go through all kinds of different variations for clones. You know, we still don't ultimately know where this whole entire ecosystem is going. But developing these kinds of tools right here, it seems like it's really going to make whatever direction they want to go into much easier. And it's going to give them all kinds of capabilities where they can do just entirely sweet things with it, you know? So that's basically it. You know, I don't want to get too deep on all of this, just to say that this year, I don't know, maybe we see some updates to the V2 models. Like, I don't know when or how or what, but that seems like that's coming through at some point. And maybe we'll see some new systems involved where we can, you know, do some cool things with our clones in terms of like customization. So I think the creator tools just in general in the ecosystem seem like they're leveling up, which is going to allow the creators to level up with them. So yeah, so that's it. That's number 9, the creator tools. I think they'll be a big deal this year. All right, now let's move on to number 8. On to number 8, collaborations. Now, the first thing I want to talk about with collaborations is the overall big picture stuff. You know, like where this could ultimately lead. Where are we going here? Like, how are the collaborations going to fit in with Artifact and their future, right? And it's not exactly clear because a lot of this stuff, people aren't going to give you the very detailed specifics because they don't want to commit to too many things in public and everything, right? They're just like give you these overarching headlines. So what are some of the important headlines? Well, one that we saw a while ago, right, was this is from epicgames.com here. This is Nike debuts Airforia in Fortnite. Now, a lot of us already played Airforia. That's kind of old news. But the one thing we want to like kind of focus on here is building on a multi-year partnership with Nike. Okay? Which is weird because if we take a look at another article from the WaltDisneyCompany.com, we'll see that Disney and Epic Games to create expansive and open games and entertainment universe connected to Fortnite. All right, so we got Nike working with Epic Games and Fortnite in a multi-year partnership, by the way. Which I think you have to say, 3 years there? Multi-year? I mean, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe 2 years, 3 years, but I've heard this Disney collaboration with Epic also deemed as a multi-year partnership. So I don't know. I bet you if I search this, I wonder if it's going to say multi-year. Let's see. Yeah, multi-year project. There it is right there. Epic Games alongside the multi-year project. Multi-year project. Multi-year partnership. Nike, Disney, Epic Games, right? All right, so how do we tie that in? Well, let's go over to complex.com here. And here we can see Mark Parker, former Nike CEO Mark Parker, named as a Walt Disney chairman. Interesting. So you got a former CEO of Nike, now at Disney, And Nike and Disney are working with Epic Games in multi-year partnerships. Interesting. So, what is going on there, right? It's kind of hard to know, right? All we can really do is speculate, but we can take a look at some cool things here. Like, this is just some eye candy that we have seen, in Airforia. Like, some of the designs here are super sick, right? Like, this is like a Nike city here, which is epic. They did a great job with this. Super futuristic. I mean, the design of Airforia was really great in general. So they did a great job with that. Here's some more marketing pieces here, showing like a cool concept of a floating island that is on an Air Max air cushion, basically. So this whole entire city is created inside of this, like this air cushion or the airbag or whatever, right? So here's another cool look at it. So definitely some really great designs and everything. And it's so weird because like there we can see like a floating island type situation. And now if we look at the marketing piece that came out with the Disney and Epic release, news and release there. So this is what we got to see there. Is it looks like a bunch of floating islands, which kind of makes sense with that that piece that we saw right there with Nike. So let's just think about this for a second, right? We got Nike, Epic, Disney. Also, you got to throw Lego in there. I mean, it really looks like Epic Games is putting together the Oasis, in a way. Not necessarily like all the way there with what we want from, what we saw in Ready Player One, which I think is like the leading concept, basically. But this is really interesting. I mean, I don't know if you've ever played Lego Fortnite, but they killed it. It's a great game. And now they're going to just have so many resources with huge companies. I mean, if you can see in here, you can see ESPN, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Disney. Then they're going to have Lego, Nike. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. They've got it all, basically. All these IP, but like, are these IP aging? They're going to have to keep up still, too, because Star Wars it hasn't run its course. I'm sure it's got all kinds of new avenues to pursue. They're always going to figure out something cool, right? Like Mandalorian came out of nowhere, but the Book of Boba Fett came out of nowhere. Andor, Ahsoka, like they're always going to have something to kind of roll out. But it is kind of aging in a way. And then you have Marvel, though. See, now Marvel, it seems like they have kind of played most of what can be done with Marvel, That's kind of aging too. Is it going to be too much more interesting? I'm sure they're going to figure it out. They always do, right? They always kind of come up with some new direction to take it in. Just like Stan Lee and all the comic book artists had too. They came up with all kinds of new different stories. But anyway, back to like, what is this going to mean for Artifact? I don't know. I mean, how is this going to fit in? Is Nike an Artifact? Are we going to see Artifact in here? And in what capacity? Is Nike really going to have like an Air Max air cushion type city? And if they do, is like Artifact going to have any kind of city in there? Or is it just going to be like a Nike city and there's just going to be like an Artifact component of that city? I have so many questions about all of this. It doesn't look like this is coming out until like 2026 or something. But like, what is it going to mean? Because I have to tell you, like, one of these times in one of these videos, I'm going to pull up the clip from Tim Sweeney at the 2023 State of the Union, basically, for Unreal and Epic. And he was kind of basically saying like he could take or leave NFTs. Which for me is kind of code for he could take or leave digital ownership. Guess who can't? This guy. I definitely cannot take or leave that. In fact, like it's gonna determine for me, and I bet a lot of other people out there, whether they play your game or not. Like if you don't have digital ownership and you're not taking digital property rights seriously, like are people gonna even engage with games that don't have digital property rights, especially when there's going to be all these new people, all these new startup companies that are Web3 based games. And they have a huge advantage because they know that the Web2 people want to continue leasing items to people. And so what do the Web3 people do? They create amazing tech that's very similar to what the Web2 people have. And then they just market the fact that you can actually own the items. So you're not like wasting your time because you can monetize your time. You can sell the items. The tech is basically as good as the Web2 stuff. But this is just the future. You know, like metagaming is the next level for gaming. And it's going to make traditional video gaming look like video gaming made board gaming look. You know, it's just going to like, once you start playing video games, it's kind of hard to go back to traditional board games unless it's like a family event or something. You know, you'll break out Monopoly so you can argue with each other. But like, you know, once video gaming hit, like the need to play board games all the time kind of goes away. You know, like once metagaming hits where you can actually own your items and you can sell them and stuff and monetize them, like I think video gaming just kind of, traditional video gaming or traditional developers just kind of go away. And there really isn't a metagaming or video gaming. There's just gaming, and gaming in the future is going to have property rights. And some of these companies are going to blockbuster video themselves out of the future of gaming because they're going to want to hold on to old ideals such as leasing videos or leasing items to players. But at some point, players are just going to be like, hey, man, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not driving to Blockbuster Video to buy gummy bears anymore. I'm like, I'm done. So like if Tim Sweeney, who is like the king of the castle, if his kingdom doesn't understand that they're going to need to offer the citizenry property rights, there's just going to be new kings that form that have better property rights. And then people are just going to go to those kingdoms and then that's it. So like, what is this new format going to be? It looks beautiful. Obviously, like they have Unreal Engine. Like they know what they're doing with UI and UX and everything like that, right? Like they kill it. But honestly, like that's not going to matter if they don't get property rights right, because the people are just going to use it against them, and they're going to use it to supplant the old incumbents. We all know that, man. I don't even know. Some of these people are just lying to themselves. Just some of the like the Web2 situation where people just don't want to understand the new wave of internet, which is digital property rights. But anyway, it looks sick. And you know, another question I have is like, traditionally in Fortnite, you only have skins. You know, like so let's just pretend like they do the right thing and you can trade skins and everything, and they actually survive for the next 10 years. I think if they don't do property rights, that they won't be around necessarily in 10 years. You know, like if they refuse flat out to ever adopt it, I think a lot of people are just gonna go to something else. You know, and it'll be hard to retain player base if you don't have property rights. But one of the problems with them is like, you know, you got the whole skin, and you can't like change your shoes necessarily, and then change your pants and change your jacket and your hat and stuff. In this new future, are they going to be able to like, are we going to have a more customizable avatars? I hope so. I don't know. We'll see. Judging based on the current Fortnite thing, it doesn't look like it. But I would think it would be way smarter, because then you can sell hats and caps and jackets and shoes and socks and jewelry and all this other stuff. They would be crazy not to segment that out instead of just having skins. But we'll see, you know. With traditional 2 companies, like I basically I reserve judgment until they do it. I'm not going to give them any kind of benefit of the doubt on this. They're going to have to show that they're going to do it, and I don't see it just yet. We'll see. But another collaboration that, this is controversial and not happening. I haven't heard anything about this, or no one has, because no one's ever going to talk about this. But this is like with Grand Theft Auto. And listen, Grand Theft Auto is a very edgy game. Clearly, we all know that. The title is Grand Theft Auto. Okay, the character is holding a pistol. We get it. But look, man, like at what point is art just imitating life and life imitating art? And, like, hey, there's people that commit crimes in everybody's favorite sneakers currently, in the real world. Does that mean that Nike should not be able to sell sneakers because some people use those sneakers to commit crimes in them? I don't know, man. I mean, that's the physical. And the digital is just like a mirror reflection of the in real life, Like you got surreal and you got real. And surreal is in the digital. And I mean, these characters are just running around, and in Grand Theft Auto, it's not really the violence simulator that it once was. It's not like there's not mega violence in the game. For sure there is, obviously, but you can also just play golf in the game, or you can like do a bunch of other stuff that has nothing to do with violence, just like the people can in real life. So like, I'm just saying, like, at what point is like Nike and Adidas and everybody able to just like put their shoes in a game like this that's kind of like imitating life without getting canceled and all this other craziness? Because I guarantee if Nike was to do that, like there would be this big uproar. But what are we talking about here? Like, why aren't those same people protesting like real shoes then? Because people use real shoes to commit crimes. I don't know what's going on out here. Like, that's the truth, right? Yes, it is 100%. So here's the deal, though. How big of a deal is this? I mean, these games are so big that they're rivaling country sizes. Grand Theft Auto is going to have, I think, about 190 million or maybe more. But, it could be 200 million. This game, it could surpass Fortnite. They could have 500 million people playing this game. That's how many people play Fortnite, by the way, 500 million. It's America's what, 330 million? Fortnite's almost double the size citizenry of America. I mean, what happens if Nike or Adidas sign an exclusive deal with, hey, Nike's signing what looks to be an exclusive deal with Fortnite. I mean, if they're able to sell digital shoes in Fortnite, I mean, and that's 500 million people, and Adidas isn't allowed to, that means Nike has, I mean, imagine if you had a whole entire country on lockdown and you're the only one that can sell shoes in that country. How crazy of an advantage is that? Especially with the profit margins of the digital supply chain. The electrified supply chain is insane. Like, you should really sit down sometime and try to sit there and think about what you would have to do to make a physical shoe. And then think about what you'd have to do to make a digital shoe and compare those. It's insane. The profit margins are sick for digital. But you need distribution. Digital distribution. You got a game like Fortnite with 500 million people. I mean, you have a chance to sell a digital shoe on a Friday that took a really talented artist maybe 15 hours to create. And they can sell it on a Friday to 500 million people for $10. That's insane. Profit margins through the roof. So, at what point is it going to be a huge deal to get exclusivity on this? I mean, you would think like if you're Adidas or you're Nike, you have a person literally fighting all day long to try to figure this out. That's how big of a deal that is. So that's a collaboration that probably isn't on the table, but absolutely should be talked about. And if it's not, there should be a person fighting at Nike to figure that out. And I hope there is. I would think there is. And I hope Artifact's involved in that, because they already have sick digitals ready to go. So why not? And Artifact's a little edgy. Why not put your little edgy brand in this edgy game, right? Okay, so we're gonna go on to another speculative collaboration. Like that's they've never talked about Grand Theft Auto. They never probably will. I'm talking about it because it's a huge deal if somebody gets in there. Let's talk about another speculative one. Like when is it time for a major athlete to get in to have Artifact design their shoe? I want to tell you the time was when Wembanyama is coming online here. He would have been a great person. I would have loved to seen him, Chris Lee, Zap, and Ben make a shoe. That would have been a really killer collab right there. You know, like they're calling him like the alien, right? From another world. It's got skills and height, and it's got, you know, inside outside game. It's got the dribbles. It's got all these futuristic moves. Like, I got to tell you, the new logo's sick too, right? I mean, if this is the official logo, it looks like it possibly could be. But I have to tell you, man, like if I am Wembanyama here, and you got the agent, and you know your agent, I'm hoping is trying to have that deal talk to Nike and get the design language of Artifact, which is super futuristic, and incorporate that whole thing into his vibe. Because the future is blockchain. It's getting more digital. Everything is getting more digital. And blockchain is becoming is a huge part of that digital. So it's getting more digital and it's getting more blockchain. The future is. Also, AR is going to be a huge factor. So what part of Nike has all that on lockdown? Artifact does. They got the digital, they have the blockchain aspect, and they have the AR on lock. So if you're Victor, you would think you definitely, I mean, and then if you look at the shoes, you compare the shoes that like, compare what Chris Lee has done on, go to Instagram. Like, has Victor been to the Instagram yet to check out the AR that Artifact is doing? Because no one's doing that. Like, no one is on that level. And by the way, also, like, you got to think of the people who are going to be purchasing your shoes, right? Like, every other shoe can be forged. Or, yeah, it can be forgeried. I mean, you can't do that with the Nike stuff because they have, or I mean, the Artifact stuff because they have the blockchain capability in with their shoes. So look, if I'm a mega crazy NBA athlete here, and I want my shoes to be provable on the blockchain so that people can't forge them, because that protects the people who support me by buying my shoes. It protects those people because they're not buying fake versions of my shoe. They're buying the real shoe. They know that. I mean, let alone like you get into the office with these three people who absolutely understand Web3. You start brainstorming different ways to incorporate the programmatic nature of the blockchain in with the shoes. And now you're doing all kinds of new futuristic things. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't understand. So I guess I'm saying I would have loved to see Victor be part of the Artifact squad to have these super futuristic shoes that represent the future like he does. He represents the future. Super young, all kinds of new capabilities that people haven't seen. That kind of really fits in with Artifact, if you ask me. So anyway, hey, that's just a collaboration I would like to see. And that was kind of a long segment here. I mean, we could talk about, we'll just like kind of briefly talk about some of the other ones that are happening too. Like we're going to go over the Animus website a little bit more, but like all rights reserved right here. They're working with all rights reserved on these physical items right here. We'll go into a little bit more detail when we talk about the Animus website and like the pricing and everything. But like these are the concepts, looking really, really cool. And if we just like briefly look at like what all rights reserved is, you know, it's like a Hong Kong based creative studio. Do a lot of work with cause and just like a lot of really sick work, right? Like with these physical items that they create. But I think they're just like, like a lot of the brands are these days, where they're just like into all kinds of different things, like Supreme, and like a lot of these brands like Kith and stuff, like they just do all kinds of cool stuff. They're kind of not limited, and they will branch out in all kinds of different ways. So yeah, I don't know. These pieces look pretty sick. And then, we also got the good old Byredo. Like, when's that going to happen? No one knows, but they're a luxury perfume brand, a cologne brand. Like, and we'll see. We'll see when that's going to happen. I'm not really sweating it. I think it'll be cool when and if it happens. But, then there's the Ledger partnership that happened too. I believe that sale's already over and concluded, but cool partnership. Shu Uemura, digital makeup, basically, right? Like you could see how that could go in all kinds of different ways, almost like tattoo-ish, but just like makeup also that like can have different elements to it because it's digital, right? So like the makeup can do different things. It can be alive in different ways that the real makeup can't. But anyway, that's going to be really cool when that comes out. And we'll talk about this more later. But yeah, NVIDIA, right? So like that collaboration right there is a huge deal because NVIDIA is probably the most important company in the world at the moment. And Artifact's in partnership with them to incorporate AI avatar tech. So there we go. That's the collaborations. We talked a lot about gaming and Fortnite and Epic and Disney. And, athletes, like when is the athlete going to adopt the design language? I mean, if you're an athlete and like if you're a major athlete and you don't go on the Artifact Instagram to see what they're doing with AR, and if you don't look at like some of the stuff that their team is capable of, like 3D wise, and then if you can even look at the physicals they've already delivered, like I don't know what to tell you, man. Like objectively compare that to anything else and they win. I don't know. All you have to do is objectively compare it. That's it. All right, cool. So let's move on to number 7. Okay, and here we are with number 7, MNLTH X. Okay, so yeah, like that last segment was very long. The collaboration segment, a lot of speculation going on there, right? But like with MNLTH X, there's really not a ton to say here that hasn't already been said in previous videos. But there's no way that this is not going to make the top 10 headlines that I think we're going to see this year. Why is this going to be such a big one here? Honestly, like if you asked the whole collective community of NFT people or crypto people and said what was like the number one problem that Artifact had, was basically how they handled the Monolith 2. Monolith 1 was super sick, okay? Like we saw the birth of the crypto kick, the skin vials, and then we also realized that this was going to be a perpetual drop system. So, the fact that there was a monolith inside the monolith, that really had a cool mystique, cool lore. It was like a new mechanic to NFTs. But then we were all waiting for that monolith that was inside the Monolith 1, and we're all like, super fired up about what this thing is going to be. And it turned out that it was a lace engine, which in all practical purposes served as a discount for the crypto kicks in real life. And the worst part about it was that there was no new monolith inside of that monolith. And it seemed like this whole super inventive system had just come to a close. So just it just didn't match a lot of the expectations. And but then they delivered something else called the MNLTH X to kind of make up for everything. And honestly, I thought it was pretty on point, right? Like it's got better branding because it kind of matches with Clone X and stuff. So yeah, and so now here it is. They had the chance to really do something special with the monolith, and they kind of just veered off for a second, but now here we are back on track with the MNLTH X and what's going to be inside of it. Nobody really knows. It'll tell a lot about the psychology behind the scenes with the team and with Nike, whatever is in here. It'll tell a lot about how connected they are to the community and with the expectations. It'll say a lot about where they want the monolith to go. You know, is there going to be a new monolith in there? What kind of items, if any, are going to be in here? It'll tell a little bit about where things are going in general. You know, like, hey, is there going to be a vehicle in there or a hoverboard? Or is there going to be another pair of shoes or a jacket? Or all of those kind of tell you a little bit of the story of where this is all going in some way. But in general, however they show up to deliver the MNLTH X is gonna show us, like, you know, how they got up from, you know, getting knocked to the canvas a little bit, right? Like it's never about like how many times you get knocked down. It's like how many times you get back up, right? Like that's the number one thing. So if you get knocked down, you come back up and you come out swinging, you know, you can still win the fight, as many people have. So I think a lot of us are really pulling for them to deliver here. And, you know, honestly, I think, like, I've already said this before, but I think at the bare minimum, if they have a monolith in there to continue on with the perpetual aspect, then they have another pair of shoes, maybe some new cool skin vials or something like that. I think that's like a base case scenario for, I mean, I can't tell you how the community is going to react to that. I can tell you how I would be pretty happy with that. I'd be super happy with it if it was a crypto kick Jordan, you know? And not just something that looks a lot like an Air Force One Jordan. I would love it, because if you let the Artifact team artifact up the Jordan, let them go with it, man. Get Chris Lee and Zap and Ben in the same room with Jordan and his squad, and just let those creative minds flow, man. I think they'll come up with something sick. So we'll see. Doesn't necessarily have to be in here, but I think it would be pretty cool. Anyway, how do they recover from the monolith? That's going to be a big headline for 2024. I think we're going to see it this year. Who knows, though? That's just me guessing. So that's number 7, MNLTH X. All right, now let's move on to number 6. Okay, now we're on to number 6, Seasonal Forge. This is huge because, honestly, I don't even know how to determine the value of a clone unless you understand how many forges there are. And for anybody who doesn't know what a forge is, it's basically part of the artifact culture, the term forging. And that's basically when you take a digital and that digital allows you to create a physical. That's basically, in essence, the forge. And, you know, it can be anything from sneakers to socks to hats to jackets to pants, t-shirts, whatever. But anytime you use your digital to create a physical, then, you know, like this right here, this Clone X hoodie is a forged hoodie. And I was able to get this hoodie because I had a clone. This is just like the baseline hoodie right here, which is actually one of my favorite hoodies. But different clones get you different access to different in real life physicals, right? And that's where the whole value prop comes in, and why these are so important. Because let's just say, for instance, that you have a Murakami DNA, okay? Now, in the forging process, the last time that we did a seasonal forge, let's say if you had a Murakami DNA, you were able to mint 2 Murakami shoes, Murakami DNA sneakers. Okay. So I don't exactly remember how much it cost. It was either 0.58 ETH or 0.338 ETH. It was something like that. But the deal is that those shoes ended up being worth like at some points 8 ETH each. You know, if you're going by today's standard, I mean, I think it was kind of similar to the price back then. But ETH is worth like $3,700 right now, I believe. Or maybe it might be 33. Let me check really quick just to ensure here. Okay, yeah, it's at 3,200 right now. But like, you know, 8 ETH is a lot of money, right? And the forging allowed you one to rock and one to stock. So you could get 2 pairs at 8 ETH each. So now look, I think you can understand what I'm saying here. Like, if the clones in this capacity are serving as access passes to purchase really rare shoes at a pretty decent price, right? Because if it costs you 0.38 to purchase them, but the open market is willing to pay 8 to 10 ETH, that's a huge deal. So now it begs the question, well, if I have this access pass, how many years of access do I have? How many seasons do I have access to this? And so like it's such a huge deal. Because let's say, just for instance, there's going to be 20 seasons. Well, if the first season you were able to basically sell both pairs of shoes for a total of 16 ETH, well, I mean, it's not like, I don't know. I mean, it all depends on so many different factors that would be impossible to factor out, right? Like, let's say season 2, there's Murakami Jordans. I mean, those are going to be so valuable. Like, I don't know. Are they going to be 8 ETH each? You know, there's no way to tell that because the market's going to be all over the place. Like, you have to factor in, like, what is ETH worth at that point? How do they look in general? Are they super sick, or how are NFTs doing in general? Like, you have to, like, how is the sneaker market doing? You can't say they're all going to be worth 8 ETH each every single season. You can't say that. No idea. Maybe they end up being worth more than that later, or maybe it's less. But no matter what, it's definitely going to have some kind of value to it. So it's hard to determine how valuable your MKDNA is until you know how many passes or how many access passes you have to seasonal forges. So right now, we don't know how many seasonal forges there are. You know, and that's a big deal because there's no way to really know. And that speaks to kind of a larger question. It's just like, how serious are they about the whole forging thing in general? I know like they take it as serious as you could. You know, they delivered just exquisite shoes, honestly. And like amazing. Like this hoodie is like it's one of the best hoodies I've ever had, right? Like the gear is super top notch. So they absolutely love to do this. You can feel the passion in the gear. But, you know, it costs a lot of money. And I know that was a heroic effort for them, especially with like all of the different things they did, you know, different materials like that. Look at the angel jacket right there. It's kind of like see-through. There were so many different materials. And then like the reptile shoes and stuff. It's just like, is that going to be in the budget again? Did they make money on it? Did they lose money on it? Like, did it make sense for them? Are they all excited at Nike and Artifact to do another forge? Are they like, oh, like it's behind closed doors? They're like, we are doing 20 more of these. Or are they like, I don't know if we're doing another one of these. I mean, it's hard to tell because none of us know that. And let's just say that really determines the value of clones. I mean, at least in that aspect, right? There's all kinds of other ways and reasons why clones can be valuable. But this is definitely a major factor. So I don't know if we're going to hear or not whether or not there's going to be another seasonal forge this year. I don't know if we're going to hear that. But my guess is that we are going to hear something about whether or not we're going to see a season 2 Forge. I think we'll hear something about that this year. I'm not saying we're going to see a seasonal Forge this year, but maybe we get a little bit more clarity on Forges, how often we can expect them, or if we can even expect any more. Because I don't want to take anything for granted at this point. I'm just, it's a top 10 headline for me for sure. And it's a huge deal in determining the overall factor of clones. So that's why I have it at its current position, which is, I believe, number 7. No, it's number 6. Okay. All right, cool. So now let's move on to number 5. All right, and now here we are with number 5, AI agents. Okay, so obviously there's a ton of hype about AI all over the place at this point, right? Like we've seen so many mind-blowing things happen. And it was so weird too because like AI kind of tackled some things that we never thought would be tackled, which was the creative. Like that was kind of the last thing I think anybody thought AI was going to be used for, and it turns out it's like one of the primary use cases is creative aspects at this point. Whether it's video directing, music producing, actually performing music or painting, or creating video or whatever it might be, AI is certainly a creative powerhouse, and it's only getting crazier out here. But it's not just going to stop there. It's going to proliferate in just about every aspect of our life, I believe, at this point, right? So, and Artifact's no different either. Like, and thankfully, we've received this tweet right here. Yes, we're experimenting on cool AI avatar tech with NVIDIA. That's awesome, and that's crazy to hear because NVIDIA is probably the most important company in the entire world at the moment. I think it's pretty objective at this point because they make the best GPUs in the entire world, and it's not just that, but they've understood that this is a critical component to the future, and they've basically doubled and tripled down on their tech, and it's the best tech in the entire world. And if there is going to be a general intelligence, it's probably coming by way of NVIDIA's technology. Right. So I think that objectively makes them probably the most important company in the world, because if you ever get to an AGI, the AGI literally can improve itself in ways no one else possibly could. And next thing you know, this thing's like basically an alien superhuman. So yeah, if they are going to be the ones that have the power to unleash basically the genie from the bottle, I guess that puts them in kind of a power position. Weirdly enough, anyway, Artifact snagged the partnership with them, and I think that's a pretty big deal. But let's listen to Aaron Wilson of NVIDIA explain why that's a big deal, or just like how it relates to Artifact in general, right? I mean, let's check that out.
Speak the way that you would speak is revolutionary. But we don't stop there. We look forward to what's next after that. How can we continue to push the envelope? How can we continue to innovate? And anyone who's been around tech lately is probably saying, why would you record audio? Like, why do I have to think of what I want my avatar to say? That's not the future. And sure enough, that's where we're heading also. And so that goes further into our relationship with NVIDIA is, when we start incorporating other technologies. So when we use Nemo and, start looking at large language models where you can really, your clone can represent you without you having to even be in the loop. And then you use tools like Riva to get interaction with people who are online when you're not potentially. The clone community and the artifact community is global. And so, the opportunity to take the time barrier out of it, to have your clone online when you're sleeping, all of these they really are the future, and they're, great examples of how NVIDIA is, pushing the boundaries of what AI can do, what technology can do, what an avatar can be and mean. And it's just such a perfect pairing with the way Artifact has also, continued to evolve What can a fashion company be? What can a digital avatar be? What can a 3D file be? And we're so excited to, to bring all of these different technologies, all of these groundbreaking capabilities together. And whether it's through clones, whether it's through Animus, be able to continue to bring this technology out, to get people access to use it easily, to get people excited, and to be able to just bring their pure creativity, like we've been talking about. It really is just the perfect pairing. And we'll be able to, you know again, this is us trying to catch up and get a little bit ahead, and then we'll bring them up along with us. So it's a never ending cycle.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's all really crazy, right? Is it all moving too fast? Yeah, I don't know. It's always hard to tell, right? Because humans, like, we've always been worried for so long, like whether or not we're just going to get replaced by technology. And are those fears like completely like justified? Hey, I don't know that we're ever going to know until finally, it is a possibility. But like, a lot of people were having the same kind of fears like all the way through history. I'm sure like when the calculator came and it replaced the abacus, like people were probably freaking out then, and just like when the moving pictures came and they replaced like the plays, and when the synthesizer came and it replaced like the piano. And I think a lot of people are kind of like into this whole transhuman vibe, and it's like, oh, if you're into technology, you're a transhumanist and you hate humans. And like, dude, that's insane. I mean, first of all, I would say that those people, honestly, like they're kind of undershooting what humans are. They think that they're protecting humans, but they're actually kind of undermining what a human is. I mean, like, are we really supposed to be doing like mundane tasks that completely eat our precious time away? I mean, was the calculator a bad idea or a good idea? I think it was like a good idea because like people were wasting their time crunching away on these abacuses. Like, but like, hey, at some point it could be a step too far, right? Like, let's not forget about that. But I don't think there's ever going to be a replacement for like human to human like interaction. And they're like the AIs could just be some like very cool new version of some type of interaction that you have. And like, is that a little naive? Like, could it be so good that you would never want to talk to another human? I can't say that, man. And I'm not trying to pretend like there are no dangers to AI. But I think it could be. I mean, I think right now that there's, knowing who I am, I don't think I'm gonna just like not want to talk to all my friends because the clone X all of a sudden basically came to life. In it, it's easy to interact with or whatever. Like, hey, we're all gonna find out, and that's why it's number 5. I think it's pretty exciting. Artifact's in a good position with one of the most important companies in the entire world, especially with the AI, and it's basically in some way, your AI PFPs are really well suited for this whole AI future because these large language models, they don't have faces, they don't have any kind of like persona or anything really, but like these PFPs are going to be a really good mixture with those. But you're kind of going to want a PFP that is 3D, I believe, and Artifact is one of the only people in the game. There's probably like 3 or 4 others that have really well done 3D models, but not all of them do. It's a very small segment of projects that have 3D models. Artifact has some of the best in the game, and they're going to be good faces for these AIs. So, yeah, your clone, your PFP, it's basically going to come to life pretty soon. So I hope you're ready for that. I'm probably barely ready for it, but I think it would be cool anyway, right? Like, whatever. These AIs are so good that, like, in the future, like NVIDIA's already showed NPCs in video games that are using large language models, and they're borderline alive, the NPCs. So like you don't have to have a group of people that are programming all of these responses and stuff and wasting their time, precious human time. The these large language models, like the AI, you'll talk to an NPC, you won't even, I mean, that thing will sound like it's practically alive. But let's move on really quickly here. This right here is a chart. This is from the recent GTC, I believe, for NVIDIA, where they had it was just one of their big meetings, basically. And here they're talking about a super AI being fed by other smaller AIs. So like the other AIs are kind of like specialized into certain segments. So like if it was you in your life and you had a clone X, for instance, let's say if this is the structure, you have 6 different Animus, and then you have a super AI. Each of the Animus have different specialties. And then those Animus feed the results of their research from those specialties to the super AI. And then you interact with the super AI. And there's like this whole kind of symbiotic relationship going on with the super AI, these smaller NIMs or whatever, these other AIs that are feeding that one, and then you. And that all has these cool characters and faces of the clone X and Animus. Like, I don't know 100% that that's where we're going or whatever, but hey, Artifact's working with NVIDIA, and you heard Aaron Wilson basically talking about all of that right there. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to give a whole new use case to having a PFP, especially one like Artifact that has a 3D model with it. And the cooler your 3D model, probably the better. And I think Artifact's got the coolest 3D models in the whole place because they designed them in conjunction with Takashi Murakami, one of the best artists in the whole world. So I think it's a pretty cool thing for Artifact. And it's going to be a weird future. Is it one that we necessarily want? I don't know. We're all going to have to like cross that bridge together. But I'm not some transhumanist. I believe that you can't replace humans, and that I think technology is, this kind of technology can help us get to possibly what we're actually supposed to be doing, which might not have anything to do with mundane tasks. So, who knows? I'm not pessimistic. I'm optimistic. I stay optimistic about all of it. I think we'll make it work, whatever it is. All right, so on to number 4. Here we go. All right, and now here we are with number 4, Tokenomics. Oh, man. I have not many people love that name, and I get it. It's not like some amazing name. It's a little corny-ish, little on the nose, whatever. I don't know that we have a much better name for what it's trying to describe. So whatever, that's what we're going to go with. And so what are tokenomics, right? It's just the economics of the token economy for a given PFP project. So, and hey, look, I'm the proponent, right? I don't know when I first started this channel. It's been a while now. I don't know if it was 2 years ago or something, but my very first video literally was called the drip token. My first video. And in that video, I was still saying all of the same exact things that I've been saying this entire time. Which is, I think it would be amazing if Artifact used the now 44 years of experience that Nike has releasing, managing, and reporting on securities. If they would use that experience and all of that knowledge to release the first regulated utility token for a PFP project, which I believe would improve on what the very innovative CyberKongs did when they first released the first utility token. I think this could be an evolution of that. I know some people would say, dude, it's not Web3, it's like, that's like a Web2 idea. You're trying to do a regulated token. Yeah, I kind of understand that, but check this out, right? Like, there's no way Nike's ever going to just like release some random token. I don't think that's ever going to happen, right? It'd be too dangerous. And so like, that's never going to happen. So if you do want a utility token, it's going to have to be regulated anyway. So then you start to think, okay, well, what are the benefits of the regulated token? And once you start to look at that objectively and honestly there, do a strict cost-benefit analysis there, I think you'll see that there's some very interesting benefits. One of them is it basically levels up or changes the financial, the way that corporations interact with their communities. I think people would call them shareholders that received dividends before, but obviously these are not stocks. PFPs are not stocks. But they're similar in some ways. Because, back in the day, before there were stocks, there was a moment before there were stocks where companies were like, how do we grow? We need to raise more money to grow. And we're kind of strapped right now. We know there's a ton more business, but we can't just grow right now. We need more money. So what did they do? They basically tokenized or split their companies, corporations, into fractionalized pieces called stocks. And then they sold each of the stocks. And then that raised money, right? So that they could grow their company. And basically the value prop was, listen, we fractionalized our company. We're going to get a bunch more money. We're going to improve our company. Then the value of the stocks that we sold you are going to go up. Okay. And then at some point, that wasn't enough. Companies started looking around and they're like, gosh, we really need more incentive to sell these stocks because they're remaining stagnant or they're going down. We need more reason for people to want these stocks. I got it. Let's do dividends. Dude, basically dividends are just like, it's just like an airdrop, right? But they're like recurring airdrops. Dividends are, because they don't do it like like a lot of these projects do out here, where it's just a one-time drop. Because the one-time drop basically just creates sell pressure. Like the second that you get the airdrop, you just want to sell the underlying component. But what dividends do, they offered you want to buy the stock so you can own it first, so there's buying pressure. But then there's holding pressure because you want to get the recurring dividend. Anyway, that's Blockbuster Video again, right? PFPs and these tokens that are related to companies, this is Netflix. This is the whole different vibe. This is the digital version of that. And you can do programmatic things. It's 100% more interesting. I mean, stocks are basically board games. They're super stagnant, super boring. They're not very interactive. There's like a low level of interactivity. And then the PFPs and these types of things, they represent a different type of relationship, first of all, because there's no stock ownership. But the performance of the company and the things that they do for the token, I don't know. I mean, they can do cool things with it anyway, right? But the like SEC is probably going to deem that a security. So what do? You have your lawyers with the 44 years of experience. No other PFP project in the whole place has that. So if you're playing for a strategic advantage, you're using all of your all of your weapons, right? And that's the biggest one. It's like they're going into a fight and they're not using that, and it's just like not using your most important weapon, and and you're just like, I don't even know why you wouldn't. Anyway, so it's the future of dividends. Basically, it can be like, if there was drip, it would make sense if it was like a daily drip, or it could even be like a real-time drip of dividends in some way, digital dividends, real-time drip of digital dividends. I don't know. But you have to ask the question. It seems like there's even more and more pressure at this point, and that's why we're talking about tokenomics here, because just about every project has a utility token or a meme token associated with it. And it's not just because it's some gambling addict type situation where people are just for that. Like, there are ways to have programmatic value in new cool ways that we're sharing value together with the corporations and the people, and everybody's kind of win-winning. And these utility tokens can really serve to help with that. and they're programmatic. So there's all kinds of there's an infinite ways to create that structure. So anybody who's just trying to shelve it instantly, they're just not really thinking, to be honest. They're programmatic. That means like they're limited by your imagination, and they're limited by a person's capacity to pursue it, right? Like somebody at Artifact or Nike has to want to pursue that, and they have to have the proper arguments and the proper passion to get that over the goal line. Because there's going to be people in the way that don't understand, because they're probably loving remote work or they're loving in-office work, probably still have a Blockbuster card in their wallet. Like, I don't know, man. Some people you have to plow through it, and you have to like have the right arguments and sound logic, and you have to have all of the cost benefits worked out. A lot of the suits and a lot of the accountants, they understand proper cost benefits, but you have to have a person that can convey it. So anyway, tokenomics. Are they going to come out with a new token? Who knows? Also, in a previous video and in a previous tweet way back in the day, I talked about, like the whole God tier thing. Can CloneX come up with a cool system for cloning themselves, allowing DNAs to clone themselves and have a new, basically, you would have, like, let's say you have a reptile DNA. I don't know, maybe use some kind of energy, or maybe you pay some kind of drip or something like that, and then you are able to mint a new reptile DNA that's a generation 2. So you can clone your DNA. That would be very interesting tokenomics, I think. But the Gen 2s can't clone themselves. Only generation 1 can. The Genesis collection. That's the only one that can actually clone themselves, right? Like, that would be very interesting tokenomics, and it would be completely accretive to the Genesis collection, because you could always sell a version of your DNA, which would make your DNA highly valuable, because who knows how big the population could grow. You'd have to have obviously proper incentives for people to want to buy generation 2, and maybe you tie that into the utility token also. And, they also get a certain percentage of digital distribution of the drip token, but then you have to have sinks that balance out that token too. There's definitely a lot to think about in setting up the structure, but it's all right there. You just need a team of people that have the time and the dedication and the passion to want to make that happen. And they have to understand the cost benefits too, and understand why it's worth it. So that's what I'm talking about. Tokenomics. Is that going to be a story? I think it already is. I think it already is a #1 story for Artifact, right? I mean, look, I'll tell you this. When the clones were going for 24 ETH, I think you can, if you kind of look back, I mean, there was talk of a lot of tokens going on, right? That was when Bored Apes were climbing also, and they were going crazy. And why was Bored Apes going crazy? Because everybody knew that there was going to be a token coming out called ApeCoin. And if you had a Bored Ape, you were going to get an allocation of that ApeCoin. I mean, people want to talk about culture and how they used to do this and do that, dude. From what I've seen from almost every NFT thing I've been in, it's all kind of the same type of people, the same type of culture. I mean, I learned this in video games back in the day, from raiding. When you're with a raid team, if they're winning, everybody's happy. But if the raid team ever thinks that they're not going to complete the raid, it gets super toxic. I think it's just the same thing across all cultures, all communities. And some are going to be like, no, dude, it's super fun over here. Yeah, as soon as they start losing, dude, that'll turn toxic in 2 seconds. I think the community, like a community of people, just want to know that they're going to have a chance of not wasting their time, really, when it comes down to it, and time is money. So, but back in the day, CryptoKong started all of this, right? People were literally making like $1,200 per day just holding on to a CryptoKong. Like, go back, look at the history. It's crazy. $1,200 per day. I think the banana token was worth $120, and just for holding a CyberKong, you got 10 bananas per day. That's $1,200. but there was only like 1,000 CyberKongs. So they were super expensive. They were like going for $250,000, $280,000, something crazy, right? And it makes sense because they're making $1,200 a day. Yeah, they're totally valuable. But so then what happened? CyberKongs kind of tailed off, but like here comes Bored Ape, right? And then everybody was like, oh man, if they do anything like what CyberKongs did, they're going to be super valuable. So that's why Bored Ape started taking off. And that's why the community was so much fun, because everybody was like, oh, we're about to make a ton of money. And guess what? They did. The airdrop for the Ape coin at one point was worth $270,000. I mean, if you happen to sell the top, which was like 3 or 4 days into it. But yeah, it was a ton of money. It was, yeah, they were right to do everything to be fired up because it was completely a huge deal. Anyway, tokenomics totally matter. And when everybody kind of was getting when there was like talk that like the drip token wasn't going to happen, that's when I think when you started seeing, honestly, the Clone X kind of tailing off because there was no talk of the token. And just look around the whole ecosystem. You can see it in just about every project. Like they want to see the utility token, and it's not just because like they're just here just to get paid. They just want to see the team making the right strategic calls. That's really what it is. So yeah, tokenomics are a factor. They'll always be a factor, and having a really good tokenomic strategy is highly important to every project, including Artifact. So, like, obviously one of the top 10 headlines, and number 4 at least this year, is going to be tokenomics. So let's see if they can create some really clever tokenomics. I mean, that's the fun of this whole thing. That's the game within the game. Is like, do you know how to like show the community that you know the community and create incentives that align between the corporation and the people? That's like the game within the game. That's the tokenomics. That's what it's all about, man. So hate the word if you want, but hey, that's what it's all about right here. So, all right, hey, let's move on to the top 3. Here we go. Cryptodunk Genesis delivery. Oh, here we go, right? Let's get hype. Look at this video. Oh man, like how sick is this gonna be? I mean, is anybody ready for this? This shoe is unbelievable. I think it's my favorite shoe ever so far. Like I don't want to go too far yet before like we have it in hand and everything. But this picture, especially right here, absolutely does it for me, man. This is like, I don't know. It reminds me of something I would play in like Phantasy Star, something I would wear in Phantasy Star or something, which is like an old school RPG, you know? It's like really video gamey, and oh man, it's just got the look that I'm looking for anyway. It's kind of chunky and a little blocky, but still like smooth and elegant, man. I love the whole color scheme on this and everything too. It's got the lenticular stuff. It's just like plus the modular aspect. Like super innovative on so many different levels. And I don't know. I mean, we're supposed to see him in June, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if that gets pushed to July or something. But look at the voids too. I mean, these are just so nice. And recently we saw they did have the Clone X also colorway, which is, you know, black with the lenticular aspect. I don't know. I'm just super hype. I mean, this is like the original video again that we have seen many times on here, but we'll turn it up a little bit.
Skin vials allow you to change the look of the artifact Nike Dunk Genesis or any compatible sneakers with limited edition skins. Collect, evolve, and breed sneaker skins. created by legendary collaborators, artists, and the artifact community. Load up thousands of skins to a single pair of sneakers. Today, we start with Evo X, Artifact's first skin vial collection featuring 8 Clone X DNA-based evolutive skins. Evo X powered skins vials allow you to evolve your Artifact Nike Dunk Genesis sneaker and choose drip upgrades and powers. Which path will you choose for your evolutive skin as you journey into the Artifact ecosystem and unlock the future? The future is now.
You know, in all honesty, I swear to God, I don't think I've ever seen a better promo video for any product. I'm pretty sure I really have not seen a better promo video for any product ever. So whoever did that, like, congrats. You killed it. Here is a great picture right here of the voids. The material looks really cool. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking this is about to be one of the sickest deliveries of all time. I don't know. I mean, is everybody going to be ready for this? I know a lot of us are super fired up, got a bunch of them coming in, and you know, it's going to be crazy. I think the whole entire Twitter is going to be absolutely blowing up with this. You know, because not only are we getting the shoes, but we're going to get these little vials too, which is just another, like, you know, fan aspect, you know? It's like, I don't know, creating that fan connection. Like, it's not something that's like totally needed. It's just, yeah, fan service, I guess is what you would say. Like, if you're a fan of this whole ecosystem, it's just a nice little touch. And it's like those little touches that kind of separate, that take you to the next level, you know? So being able to further customize them with these are amazing. But just like seeing what the community is going to do with the entire modular aspect too, I think it's really hype, and I think it's super innovative. You know, I mean, it's incorporating blockchain technology because you can verify that the shoe is real, and it's literally released by Artifact. So you got blockchain in there. You got 3D printing in there because people are going to be able to 3D print modular components for their Cryptodunk Genesis. Yeah, then you have like these other new aspects as well, like, you know, like the lenticular uppers, where, you know, lenticularity is basically when you look at a material from different angles, you will get a different result in what it looks like. So to have the lenticular not only on the Dunk Genesis, but also on the Clone X, like the black material is also going to have it. That's just going to be really crazy looking. And I think this is going to be a big deal for Nike too, right? To see kind of like what the reception is for these shoes. You know, what the aftermarket's like. That in some way is just kind of telling you like how much hype is out there for the shoes. And I think there's relatively low numbers, right? Like we can see some of the numbers here. Let's take a look at this. Gosh, I think this was either Prez or Kane, whoever came up with this. But yeah, here are the numbers. That's really low. Those are really low forging numbers. You know, they're definitely not as low as some of the other ones we saw, you know, like with the space trips and everything like that, but that's still really low in comparison to typical Nike runs. So these shoes are going to be super rare. And they're double logo, Nike Artifact, and they're very futuristic. So I'm pumped. That's number 3. There's not too much more to say about it. Bring on the delivery. Let's do this. All right, number 2. Here we go. Number 2 for the top 10 headlines we expect to see in 2024. Animus. And now for this, we're pretty much going to stick to the website because they absolutely killed the website. I remember back in the day in the Animus video that I did, and I was just hoping that the Animus website was just going to have littered with information. And they really delivered. I mean, not only is like the website just beautiful and like fun to interact with and everything, but they really killed it, like in terms of just delivering all of the information that you want to know. And there's so much here. There's so much to unpack, really. We're not going to get into every single nuance of every single thing here, because there is a lot of information. But it's basically just that I believe that Animus is going to be one of the main headlines, not only really for Artifact, but just of the NFT space in general for 2024. Just due to the sheer production value and the amount of utility that is going to come out of it, I believe. You know, in terms of like the 3D files and stuff like that, and what people are going to be able to do with these, with the 3D files in particular. But also just like the bar that this is going to set for everyone that is coming into NFTs or anything like this. Like, the art is so good. And that, you know, like obviously not only do you get the 3D, but you also get a 2D counterpart. Like you can see here, as you mouse over these, you can see the 3D and then you can see the 2D that comes with it. And they're still in work right now on determining, and they just asked the community also for feedback in this regard, but like which type of, how do we want this 2D, 3D interaction to play out? Because there's like a 655 or 6551 token. And then there's another way to have it where the 2D and 3D are just interlinked. And then there's another way where the 3D functions as kind of a wallet. And then the 2D is inside of that wallet. And then there could be more items associated. It gets very technical. But the cool thing is they asked the community for their feedback. And we had a token gated vote in Discord. So it's pretty cool. And, you know, I'm getting the interaction from the community on like how we want the technology to be played out. That's what's crazy too about the technology in this whole space, is just how fast it's moving. And with such major decisions hanging in the balance of all of these technological advances, you know, like that's a lot to consider there. But as you can see, we've got 39 species. And this is like the secondary rarity tier system here, where it has to deal with the background. But I'm sure it's not just the background. There's like an elemental rarity, basically, where, you know, here's the Murakami. There's an earth. Gosh, look at how great these models look. I mean, these are ready for like prime time right here. And I'm sure our community is going to be using these 3D models to create all kinds of cool stories and everything. So we got Murakami, Earth, Plant, Electric. This is Electric right here. Flame. Water. I love this water one right here. The whole outfit and the hair, everything is just killer. Shadow. Light. Cosmic. And magic. Right? I think these are the more rare ones right here. And what is that going to mean? You know? I mean, we don't really know yet. We have no idea, like, how that's all going to play out, what the elemental rarity is going to do for your character, why there's a rarity associated with it. I don't know. This section right here, though, it talks about the 20,000 unique companion pets. Each comes with a 3D file. It's ready to use across various platforms, and it's fully rigged. I mean, a fully rigged 3D file with characters like these. So you know that the rigging is going to be pretty intricate for all of the rigging. I mean, it's crazy that they did that for 39 different characters. So, and the same two licenses, will be used for the same type of licenses will be used as for Clone X, for Animus. Yeah, that's true. Oh, there's the egg in all its glory, looking great. There's Farai, and this is logs. I mean, which honestly is like one of the coolest aspects of this so far has been the logs. We'll get into that a little bit more after, but that was just like a little snapshot there of it. But then here we're talking about the incubation phase 1 and how you can link your eggs. You can either link it to just a clone or to a pod. So you can link it to a clone and or pod. And it's going to remain open for 3 weeks. It hasn't actually started yet of the filming of this video, which is April 22nd, 2024. But we believe we will probably be hearing something very soon here. So it says incubation will remain open for 3 weeks. During this time, you can connect your Clone X and or pod to incubate your egg and increase your chances of revealing a rare Animus. I don't want to like go through and talk about all of this because this is going to be like a 20-minute segment here. Definitely go to animus.artifact.com. There are definitely some things that I do want to talk about here, though. Number one, like right here, the reveal. You get to choose if you want your egg to reveal, and that's a big deal, right? Because you can hold on to it for a long time if you want to. Here you can see like there's an overview. And I suggest, like, if you're going to get into this, if you have a clone, if you have a pod and an egg and everything, you really got to get in here and dig into these details. And it's actually pretty fun, too, because there's just a lot to it. There's some gamification here, like some smart decisions that you'll probably want to be making just to optimize your chances of getting the rarest Animus that you can. There's all kinds of questions that are being asked or answered here. Yeah, one thing that I have been asking just for so long, and it was so crazy to finally get the answer for it, is that the DNA actually does affect the DNA of your clone that is linked to the egg actually does affect the egg. And we've been wondering that for so long. At some point I was thinking, like, if you have an alien, for instance, does that mean you're going to get an alien Animus? It turns out that's not true. But your clone's DNA will have a certain point value associated with the DNA. Because some DNA are rarer than others, so the more rare DNA get higher level points. The more points that you have will help determine the rarity of the Animus that you receive. It doesn't mean that you're going to be guaranteed to get a super rare Animus if you have a lot of points. I think it just increases your chances of getting a rare Animus. Because that doesn't mean, like if you don't have very many points at all and you just have like a human clone and an egg, you can still get like some of the rarest stuff out here. It's just that your chances are going to be lower. But it's all RNG, I believe, that is going to be weighted according to points. I mean, I don't know exactly how the programmatic structure of it is, but points matter, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to get something completely sweet if you have a lot of points. Just ups your chances. So yeah, here this whole section is really interesting. It outlines all the points that you get. The Murakami DNA and drip boost. This one was pretty interesting right here. It says all eggs linked to a Murakami DNA clone X will receive a Murakami Animus, guaranteed. And all eggs linked to a Murakami drip clone will have a higher probability of receiving a Murakami Animus. So if you have a drip, you have a really good chance of getting a Murakami Animus. But if you have a Murakami DNA, you're definitely going to get a Murakami Animus. So here it also talks about the pods and how they affect your chances too, or like how many eggs you can actually put in the pod and incubate within the pod. So the loot pod, for instance, you get 2 points per egg, and you can have 1 egg in the pod. In the space pod, you can have 1 egg in there, and you get 3 points for that 1 egg. In the exopod, you can have 3 eggs, and you get 20 points per egg. And in the Lux pod, you can have 10 eggs, and you get 100 points per egg. So the Lux pods were really expensive, right? Like to have a Lux pod, you had to have 20 space pods and 20 loot pods. That's 40 pods to make a Lux pod. And they actually made it worth it. I think that was pretty cool that they did that. That was very thoughtful to make sure that those people were rewarded for that. This is where it gets real interesting right here. Okay, so this is like, there's 3 different generations of them. Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3. And in the Gen 1, 1.5% of the total population of 20,000 are Generation 1s. And there's only 300 of them. It looks like there's 3 different kinds that are strictly Murakami versions, including the Dragon Sakura, which I believe this dragon's super rare because I think it has all of the energies, if I'm correct. Do they say that in here? I think they say it somewhere within this entire site. But yeah, Gen 2, 20% or 4,000% of the collection. Here, there's a lot of Murakamis in here. There's 5 different types of Murakami Gen 2s. There are no Murakami Gen 3s, and that represents 78.5% of the population. So if you have a Murakami DNA anyway, and probably a Murakami drip, you have a high chance with a drip of getting something in Gen 2 at least. So yeah, there's artist editions too. That was another thing that's really cool. Like if you have an artist edition, there's not very many of them. I think there's like probably 11 or something artist editions, but they get their own unique artist edition Animus, which is going to be really cool to see. And then this is a big decision here for Animus is the special edition distribution. There's 88 special editions, and they kind of democratize this in a way because like points don't matter here. Now that's a huge deal for everybody in the whole ecosystem if you have a clone or an egg. Because actually if you just have an egg. Let's see. No, well, there's a little bit of a tie-in with clones and with the pods, but the DNA doesn't matter. And the DNA had such a high level point value to it. The fact that doesn't matter, it really levels the playing field for everybody involved, basically. And I don't know what the special editions are all about. I have no idea, but obviously they're going to be sick, right? And there's only 88 of them. So, but 8 of those are going to be guaranteed for people that have a clone and a Lux pod incubating. 7 of those 88 are going to be guaranteed for any egg incubated with a pod. So if you, incubate your egg with a pod, then you have a chance at one of these 7. Like if you incubated with a clone X and a Lux pod, then you have a chance at these 8, and you have a chance at these 7, I believe. And you have a chance at these 70 also if you did a clone X with your Lux pod. And then there's 3 that are available only to the people who did not incubate their eggs. So you'll have to look into that a little bit more deeply to really like go through the math on all of that. But at the end of the day, it kind of leveled the playing field in terms of the DNA points not mattering. So I thought that was a cool thing to kind of make it a little bit more fair and fun for everybody. I thought that was cool. And you can see here, these are Animus personas. I mean, really, this is just to kind of show you the type of people that might mint in a certain way. And they just kind of named them, gave them cool names, like the Maximalist right here. This is somebody who's got an alien and a Lux pod and an egg. That would be like a Maximalist setup, right? And then this would be like an artist setup, would be somebody who has a Murakami DNA and also an egg, you know, but doesn't have a pod in this instance. The Believer's got an exopod and a Murakami drip. The Essentialist, the human with a space pod and an egg. So that's cool, just kind of giving you like a little bit of a look at what those loadouts would look like. And I said that we'd talk about this too, and then here we are right now with the All Rights Reserved partnership here. And these are really cool, right? I mean, I really want this egg. The sculpture is cool. I like it. It's $500, I believe. There's going to be 500 of them. But there's going to be 1,000 of these eggs, and they're $250. And that looks really sweet. I love that egg. So, yeah, and this is the AOD right here. That helps you basically kind of organize the data from the Animus. It looks a little bit like a Pip-Boy, but it's going to be really cool. I can't wait to see how that rolls out, if there's going to be different versions of that, or if there's some way for us to interact with those, or something like that. Maybe that's just some lore for later if there's ever a game. So, yeah, anyway, look, we went through this whole website in a very sparse way, but just to take a whole look at this, because they did such great work on this. And there's so much information here that if you have an egg or a clone or a pod and you plan on minting, have some fun and just go through this, because it's great. It's a lot of fun information, honestly. And they really killed it. I will say this about Animus too. Like, I was worried because early on, Benoit said something like they weren't going to be doing a traditional rarity system. And I was like, oh man, I was kind of like worried about that. I have to tell you, I was so wrong to be worried about that. And I'm saying that because I was worried it was going to be kind of sparse, or that there wasn't going to be that much differences between them. It's the exact opposite. There is so much going on between the Animuses. There's so many variations. I literally can't even believe they pulled this off. Like, the amount of differences and the amount of attention to care with each of the different facets and characteristics of these things is outlandish. It really is. I think once we really get in here and start to see these things, it's just going to speak for itself how much work went into this and how detailed they are. So anyway, I just have to say, like, yeah, I was wrong. I mean, this is like, I couldn't be more excited to see how this all shakes out. And what would I be most excited to get? I mean, one of the things if I could just choose straight up, it would probably be the wolf. Right here. The old Moonfang. I would love to check that thing out. That would be super sick. But yeah, so I don't know. We could go on and on about this, about how excited I am about all of this and everything. And this really should have been number one, honestly. But number one, I kind of reserved for more of like a philosophical topic. So in terms of like what they're actually producing and working on and stuff like that, this is definitely number one, really. But yeah, you'll see when we get to number one in a second here. So anyway, couldn't be more excited. It's going to be coming up soon here. And I don't know. I hope you're going to be involved because I think it's going to be something that none of us are really going to want to miss. You know, I mean, this is the dragon that we saw on the Chinese New Year. I believe they put this in there. I don't know if this is the Dragon Sakura here or not. I mean, it seemed kind of like it could possibly be, and I don't know what that even is going to mean. I mean, what are the special editions? What is this all going to mean? Is there ever going to be a game? What are we going to be doing with this? Is Animus primarily for video production, or is there ever going to be a game, or what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that was a long segment. This is going to be a 7-hour video. I got to get going here. But that was number 2, Animus. Super fired up. Let's move on to number 1. Okay, and with number 1 for 2024 top headlines for Artifact. Yeah, number 1 I have as what's next for Clone X. That is the number 1 headline, if you ask me. You know, what is the vision ultimately? I think it's time that we have some kind of like state of the union or something. I would love to hear from each of the founders where they ultimately see this going at this point. You know, they've been through a lot. They got a lot of experience. They kind of know all the people that they're working with more and more at Nike. They know the capabilities of their team a lot more. And they've had a chance to really flesh out where all of this is going. And I would love to hear from the founders, really, like their actual, like roadmap vision type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like I knew where we were or where we were going more clearly at the very beginning than I do now, this late into the game. I feel like that should be a little bit turned around, right? Like, I felt like I should have less questions now when I feel like I have more. And, you know, that's not a bad thing at all, really. Because it could be really good. I don't know. That's my problem, is I don't know if things between them on Nike are going really well. I mean, there's some, you know, like, there's obviously been some controversy on the timeline with some NFT reporters, right, that have mild credibility, like, have called some things pretty right, that are saying that, you know, Nike and Artifact are not going to be working together coming up here in the future. And, you know, that reporter like double and tripled down on what they were saying. In the face of a lot of scrutiny, they were still doubling, tripling down on that from their sources. So, you know, like what the Artifact crew wrote back and basically said, like, that wasn't an issue and it was news to them. So I don't know. I think it would be great to hear from either the execs at Nike or the founders in general and just like openly address all of this kind of stuff. You know, I know, like, honestly, there's no way that a large corporation like Nike or Artifact should just be out here randomly responding to anybody that says anything about their company or is just spreading rumors or lies or whatever like that. There's no way they should spend their time chasing that down. You know, but some of the rumors were coming from people that have like pretty good credibility, to be honest. So it's like on some level, there is a time to address those concerns straight up, proactively, you know. And it's not like they're even forced to or anything like that. It would just, I'm sure the community wants to know, like, hey, is there any truth to any of the rumors that Nike and Artifact might not be working together? I don't know. Honestly, like if I had to guess, and is all it is, because at any time anything could change. But if I had to guess, I would think they're going to continue to work together, or that Nike. It's not even that they're working together. Nike owns Artifact, so I don't even know. That with some of these allegations, I don't even know what that would even look like. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk too much more about that, but like, I guess what I'm saying in an underlying way is just that it would be nice to just have a little bit more vision in general. And, if there was any truth to those allegations, I think it would be crazy for Nike to lose the capability that, the Artifact has, because, I mean, you're losing the blockchain, AR tech, and strategic vision of people who are clearly understand the internet and they clearly understand the future. So I can't imagine that would be the case, though. With Nike talking about remote work or returning back to the office, and some of these kind of like old school Web 2 type ideologies and stuff, like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I get confused about that, if I'm being honest. So I think just like all of us out here, it would be nice to know what is next. And I'm just being truthful about that. Like, that's always on the top of all of our minds, right? Is like, where are we going? And I think if we knew like where we're going, it kind of quells a lot of other questions too, because then if you know where you're going, then you kind of know how long it's going to take to get there. But if you don't know where you're going, then you're just asking, are we there yet? Every 5 minutes, which is a lot of what we have going on in the community at the moment. And you can't blame anybody, because it's like, no one knows where we're going. So everybody wants to know when when the driver thinks we're there. You know what I'm saying? That's why people ask that question incessantly. So, yeah, I mean, like when we found out that Artifact wasn't making a game, right? That was a huge revelation, because it's like, oh, okay, well, they're not making a game. What does that mean? What do they think this is? Like, what do they ultimately want? Maybe they understand that there's something even better than having a game. If I'm being honest, I don't think making a game is the way to go anyway, because gamers are super fickle, and a game, people can just like, it's too hard. It could be too hard to keep up with like the mechanics on a game to make it interesting all of the time. I've always suggested that they just make a world, an Artifact city, make the city sweet. Let us hang out in the city and socialize, and basically be like a 3D Discord in some way, where we can also shop, which would create a revenue stream for Nike and for Artifact if we could shop for digital items inside the city, and we could, interact with inside the city. So now it's more of like a place to hang out versus a game, because it's a lot easier to create a sweet environment that can be interactive than I believe it is to create a game that has very heavy mechanics and that you have to balance all of the time to make interesting. I mean, the play testing that goes on in games, it's so intense, because you have to have the balance just right between reward and challenge. So it's just like the play testing and all of that, it takes so long. But I mean, ask yourself this: if you let Chris Lee and his team of wizards, and you said, build a city block in the Artifact design language, build a Neo Nike store, a basketball court, and a soccer field, all within one city block, you don't think that would be the sickest city anybody's ever seen? It absolutely would be. And there's no chance it wouldn't be, honestly. And if the clones were able to just hang out in that city and interact, I mean, I think they're killing it right there. So that's not necessarily a game. I mean, you know, like, who knows where this is going? I would like to know, though, in some way, just so I can, like, align, like, know if I'm aligned or not. I like, you know, love doing the news and everything that I'm doing like this. Like, I could do this and just keep doing this, you know, like, but I mean, if the whole idea here is video production, I'm not going to say I'm 100% aligned with video production necessarily, because I'll just say this. Like, when I was watching an interview between Lex Friedman and Mr. Beast, and Mr. Beast, and Lex was talking about how he, like, interviews people, how Mr. Beast interviews people. And Mr. Beast will, like, kind of ask people, like, what are their aspirations? And if they say they want to get into movies, he won't hire them. And why? Because what he's doing is bigger than movies, right? He's reaching so many people with every single video, and he can put the videos out way quicker than anybody could put out movies. So, like, what YouTube is doing and the way it lets him interact with the community and all this other stuff is just, like, it's a way bigger concept than getting into TV, like traditional TV or anything like that. You know, it's just, it's the future. And, like, the same thing, like, with movies, like, I feel with video games, like, video games are just the next progression of videos, of storytelling. Like, instead of watching some other person play the main character in the movie, like, you are the main character in the video game, and you're seeing the story play out right in front of you, and you're interacting with the story elements. Like, I think the video gaming is the future, and it's proved it has, because it's absolutely eclipsed the movie industry. So I'm hoping that where they're trying to go is gaming ultimately. I know, like, Azuki's doing something really cool. I do really like the idea, now that I understand a little bit better, like the open anime structure. I think that's really smart. I like the idea that they're going to try to, like, open the whole entire thing up so that the artists get paid better, so that the whole entire workflow is better for everybody. That's really cool. And they could snag a bunch of great artists and everything that are tired of being worked over by the development studios. I think it could be amazing. I love it. So yeah, I guess I don't really know where this is going. I mean, the Animus, they don't have any Nike clothing on. You know? Like, I don't know how that's necessarily going to help Nike. I don't know how Animus will help Nike at all, really, because they're not wearing shoes and they're not wearing Nike clothing. So I wonder how Animus plays in there. Or maybe they just don't. And maybe it's just now this is giving Nike just a digital collection of characters that they can put into all kinds of different avenues, movies or video games or whatever, you know, like, that's what I'm saying. It's wide open, and it would be great to hear where they all want it to go. See, the problem is it's a double-edged sword, because our community has become so anti-speculative that, like, we're not even allowed to dream anymore, because we got a bunch of dream catchers out here that are like, don't say that. You're going to hurt everybody's feelings. Dude, I don't even know what's going on out here. I think things got crazy. And it's because, yeah, you know, like, there's people spending money and stuff. And if they hear, you know, some heavy speculation that they're going to, like, plow a bunch of money in, and then because the speculation was so heavy that the expectations were never able to be met, and now that person loses a bunch of money. Like, I get that, man. But, like, we need a safe space or something. We need some place to dream where people aren't just going to be throwing money around like crazy. Right? Because I'm here for the future of video gaming. And, like, I always believed that if they did the tokenomics right, that if you did daily drips, you would never sell your Clone X's. It would be the stupidest thing you could possibly do. If they did daily drip, the smartest thing you could do is acquire as many Clone X's as you could possibly acquire. So my goal was never to sell any Clone X's ever. I don't even think that's, you know, I'm kind of Michael Saylor with the Bitcoin thing. Like, if you do the tokenomics right, You just incentivize everybody to pick up as many clones and Animus as possible. And then the token is how the liquidity happens. And then, but then you have to have good token sinks, which means you need people who understand tokenomics. So like, hey, where's it going? I don't know. And that's why I think this is the number one topic or headline that is going to be revealed this year or talked about this year or whatever. Like, I'm thinking we should probably know more about where all of this is going by the end of 2024. And if any of the founders are listening, like, please, like, try to figure out a way that you can give like a State of the Union, because I want to hear where you want it to go. I want to know if I'm aligned with you guys still. Like, I haven't heard where anybody wants it to go in a long time. So I'm lost at sea out here. We need a lighthouse. We need like a beacon where we're like, okay, that's where we're going. Cool. I'm down. So that's what I think is the number one topic. But, you know, like I said, Animus really is the real number one here. Because that's going to answer a lot of those questions. But I have to say, like, I think that this ultimately really is very important. As where are we going? We need a captain of the ship that's like, hey, this is the treasure map. This is where we're going. So that all the people on the boat are like, yes, let's go there. I'm going to swab the deck until we get there. I'm cool with that. So that's it. So, hey, let's go back to the main. All right, so hey, that was it, right? That was the top 10 headlines that I think we're going to see in 2024. I hope you had a fun time with this. I know this is a super long video. I haven't started editing yet, but I have a feeling it's going to be like is this going to be like a 30-hour video or what? I don't know. But hopefully you use the chapters and everything to navigate around, and hopefully you found some enjoyment from it and learned some things. You know, like I said before, this is not financial advice whatsoever. I don't have any extra information other than what you have. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just here as a fan trying to string together information that I can pull together from wherever I find it, right? And I definitely spent a lot of time thinking about this and researching this. So I try to bring that to you and hopefully make it a little easier for you to understand what's going on out here. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a big year. The success of Animus will tell us, like, you know, it's going to help us understand the potential for success for Artifact. And it's going to help us understand better, like, how the clones are involved with everything and how the Animus and clones interact and, you know, just all the other topics we talked about. Like, you know, are we going to see any kind of tokenomics? Like, that would be amazing. Let's get those lawyers involved, right? Let's get that regulated token going. Let's let the clones clone themselves. Like, that would be dope too. And man, we got AI agents happening, crypto kick delivery. We got like creator tools rolling out and all kinds of new capabilities with all of these new systems and stuff and collaborations, right? Like, who's gonna knock on Victor's Wenbanyama? Who's gonna knock on his agent's door and say, listen, here's the Instagram for Artifact. You look at that art, you look at all that AR. Here's some of the other stuff that they've created. Here's the portfolio. You tell me they shouldn't be making his shoe. Verifiable on the blockchain, by the way. Protects all of his collectors out there. And, you know, we got Move to Earn and MNLTH X. Man, we have a lot coming up, and I think there's a lot of reason to be excited. And, you know, the crazy thing about crypto is, like, we're always just one sentence away from things being insane. You know, from everything turning around. Like, clones have been getting the beat down for a while now, but, like, we're always just one sentence away from something crazy happening, right? Like, you remember what it was like at the beginning of the mint, if you were there? Things were not going well. And then all of a sudden it was like Nike acquired Artifact, and it was like, boom, everything changed. You know, this is a really explosive industry, and anything can happen at any time. The innovation is just sitting here waiting for everybody. So you never know when something amazing is going to happen. And You know, I mean, dude, if they come out and they say, yeah, we've agreed with Nike that we're going to do 20 seasonal forges, that would be a huge deal. I'm not saying they're going to say that. Clearly, we have no idea. I'm just saying there's always just one sentence away from something amazing happening, right? So we just keep working hard, keep busting these out. I mean, I know it's been a long time since I made a video. I actually moved to a different state. I'm in a new studio now. In real life, work's been crazy. It's been a long time, but I'm hoping now that I'm back on track and ready to put some more videos out. If you have any ideas for videos that you would like me to talk about or anything you would like to see, just let me know. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe. We always talk about that, and let somebody know too. I'm trying to get to 500 people. That would be amazing, right? 1,000 would be sick, because then we can monetize and possibly start making some move. I mean, because ultimately I'd like to be doing this full time, but I have to kind of crawl before I can walk and before I can run, right? So with your help, I can do that. But either way, it's just been great anyway, and I'm happy that you're here. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be big. We'll see how it all rolls out. Just hang tight. It's going to get crazy. I'm excited. So, all right, everybody. You know what time it is, right? It's time to go news yourself. Peace.